Not yet. Nope. And we're
Getting
start.
there. All right, I think we're live now. All right, hey, welcome back to our Twitch stream for MongoDB. So I'm Nick, and I'm with my co-host today, Adrienne, and we are going to do a part 2 episode to a stream that we did a few weeks back on game dev with MongoDB. So we're going to show you an example of where we got on the previous stream, but essentially we're going to be building a drawing game that syncs with MongoDB. Before we get into the actual stream itself, both of us, both me and Adrienne, want to make some announcements before we forget. So, for example, next week, I believe this is next week, we are sponsoring an Auth0 hackathon. So, if you want to participate, there's going to be a lot of cool things that you could do in the realm of COVID, security, connectivity. So this should be a pretty exciting event. Adrienne, is there anything you wanted to share?
Yes, this is a great place to really get started with either authentication or MongoDB, and we'll have a lot of really great engineers there. So I highly encourage you all to check it out. I know it's an online hackathon, but it should be really, really fun. The second thing that we wanted to share is that Nick and I are actually going to be speaking at GDC. So we're going to be talking about this exact game that we're sharing with you all and streaming the process of how to build it. So if any of you are a part of GDC, feel free to watch for us there. I believe the day we are speaking is August 5th, and that's at 10 a.m. So that's Pacific time. So if you are attending GDC, look for Nick and I.
Yes, please. Just want to throw out some more logistical information. So inside of the chat, we have two moderators from MongoDB. We have Karen and Otto. So they'll be helping us answer questions. If there's any kind of issues with the stream, maybe there's audio problems, video problems, please let us know. If you can't hear us, if the font is too small, just send us a chat. We do want to give a shout out to Brian Clark from the Microsoft Developer Channel. So Clark.io, he actually helped us tweak a few settings, which will hopefully make this stream significantly better than part 1 of the stream. So we'll see how that goes.
Totally. So,
I'm going to share your
as
screen, Adrienne, so that way.
okay,
Yep, there we
yeah.
go.
Sweet. So, just as a recap, we want to quickly go over what we have accomplished from part 1, just so we can get a basis of where we are, and then we can fill in the gaps for the rest of this stream. So, we'll start with our index HTML. And if you remember, we are using Phaser, which is an HTML and JS game framework. And we're also using MongoDB to store our data. So, here we just have a super simple HTML page. We have the sources here for Phaser, and we have the source for Realm. This is really our Realm SDK. That stitch name should be changing soon. And we also have our own game logic here with our game JavaScript file. Now, what's still missing is we still need to build out a lot of the actual body. So not just the canvas from where we are drawing, but also a couple of smaller like admin elements. So a place to join the game. So we need something to store the ID or input in a game ID. And we need like a simple button to show or to click to say that we're joining or creating a game. And then the only other element I think that we need was probably just a little indicator to let us know if we are the host or if we're not the host, if we're the spectator. That will also help us determine if we're allowed to be drawing on the canvas or not. So out of all of that, what we have started so far is creating this game class, and we are passing a couple of configuration items that we would need when we send it to Phaser, when we create and initialize this new game. So far we have the actual ID of the game, we have our width and height of the actual canvas that we're going to be using, and then we are passing our own kind of custom pieces here. So we have our realm ID, which is how we are initializing which realm app that we are using because we have some rules and permissions set up there. We send our database that we're using and the collection that we're using, which is where we're storing the data that's a part of this game. And right as of now, we're just kind of all out, just we're calling a single function. We still need to build this out. So that's our index HTML. We go to our game logic, we'll go to our game.js file. You'll see we got a little bit more done on here. And we'll see that we started creating a class for our game. And let's just go line by line of what we've had. So far in the constructor, you'll see we're taking some of those configurations that we will be sending when we initialize a new game. So it's the same thing. We have the width, the height. We have the a phaser setting here, which I actually don't remember what this is for. Can you help me out, Nick?
Yeah.
What the
So you're talking
phaser
about
auto?
line 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So auto, it basically lets your browser decide whether or not we should be using a canvas versus WebGL.
Ah, thank you. So that's that setting. And then we're also setting up our scenes. So far, we are only using these 3 scenes, or at least have written something for them. There are a couple other ones that I think we're not using, like pre-init and some other steps in the life cycle that we haven't written anything yet, but we'll fill those in as we need. So after we initialize the scenes that we're using, we're also initializing, again, realm. So this is where we would get that realm ID, the database name, and the collection name that we'll be using from MongoDB Atlas. And so far we have the bulk of it almost there. So for now, when we initialize in our init scene, we're just going to be set this variable that we have called isDrawing to false because we know that at this moment in time of the life cycle in Phaser, we should not be drawing. Nothing should be happening at this moment yet. And as far as the create scene, which correct me again if I'm wrong, Nick, this is the one that only happens once, right? Create scene.
Yeah, both the init
Like that.
scene and the create only happen once. So it starts with init. I think init might actually. So there's another one that we're not using called preload. I think init and preload happen in parallel, but I think
Okay.
init happens before create in this example.
Gotcha. So we are using create scene as well to kind of set some things before the game goes. And what I mean by setting things is we are setting the graphics that we're using, and particularly the line style. So that's the color and the width of the pen that we're using to draw on our canvas.
I think that's MongoDB green, right? That's a
That
hexadecimal
is.
value.
We spent a good chunk of time there looking for that particular MongoDB green, so still on brand. So the next function we have here is our update scene. This is the one that continuously runs. So keeping that in mind for this life cycle, we added our logic here to decide either whether or not we're drawing and what to do based on the fact of if we're drawing or not. So Phaser, I believe, is what gives us this access to know if we have something down on the canvas, right? If it's our cursor, if it's our finger, if it's an Apple Pencil, whatever it is you're drawing on the canvas or using to draw something on that canvas, we can access that state with this active pointer here. So at the moment, we're just saying, if this is not down, if it's, whatever it is you're using is not depressed at the moment, then we are setting our variable again to false because, but we're going to be changing this in a moment as we finish our game. If we are not, this means if we are actually going through, and again, we need to still change a couple things here, but what we want to do is if we are drawing, we want to create a new phaser path. And for this to be created, Phaser needs to know where our cursor is, where our drawing peripheral is. So because we have set our width of our line to be 4 pixels right here,
Yep.
this is why you see the -2 right here. So we're just subtracting that. ideally because we want wherever we're drawing to be in the center. So if we had left this alone as 4 and did not subtract 2, you'd probably see it at the very end of our cursor. And that sometimes can work. It depends. So like if we used an image as a pencil, and we wanted to make it look like the pencil is actually drawing from the end of the pencil, the tip of the pencil, then maybe we would leave it. But for now, we just wanted it to be in the center. So that's why we have this subtract 2 here. And if you can infer, these are like coordinates, right? So we're passing into the path, that new path that we're creating, which coordinates is the cursor at, and then be drawing that. And then obviously while we're drawing, we want to set our isDrawing variable to true. And then I actually don't remember this part, Nick. Can you explain what this line 2 is? Is
Yeah.
this the actual so I know that this is actually drawing the line, but I don't remember what the line 2
Yeah. So in our example, if we just take a step back real quick, up a level here on line 35, that's if we've just now started drawing. Because if we're not currently drawing, we've just started drawing, we need to put that initial point down. Now, if we're already drawing because of the Boolean value, then we're adding points to connect to that initial point. So we don't want to have one continuous line throughout our entire game. We want anytime our cursor or our pointer or whatever it may be lifts up, then we're creating a new line.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
So yeah, that's that. And then with that path that we are now either creating lines or adding lines to, this is the actual function that draws that onto the canvas. So we're almost done from the recap, at least, of what we've accomplished in Stream 1. Now we have this authenticate function here. And all this does is we log in with our credential here so that we can authenticate to Realm. And yes, we know it says Stitch, but it's going to be Realm, we promise. And in this case, we are sending a new anonymous credential because at this point in time, we don't want to deal with storing any kind of credentials for users, but we still do need one to authenticate to Realm. So that's what we're using here for our authenticate function. And then here is where we kind of left off. So this is still incomplete. We're going to probably be changing this a bit. But where we left off is we said, okay, once we, get onto this game, we know we're either going to create or join an existing game. And I'm trying to see here. So obviously we need our auth. We need to await and get our anonymous credential here. And I think we need to also add some logic here to see if a game has already been created with an ID. So we're probably going to be passing something here, probably the game ID, because we need to check, right? We need to first check, is the game that we're thinking about, the ID, does it already exist? And if it does, we don't want to create the game because it's obviously already existing. We probably want to have a different function that says just join the game rather than create it. But if it doesn't exist when we do search for that game ID, then we do want to go ahead and create the new game. And right now, I think we just hard-coded it at the time when we were running out of time, right, Nick?
Yeah, and we're doing that really because we're using an anonymous authentication. We're basically, the owner is going to be able to read and write their own documents, and everyone else is just going to be able to read. So if we have everyone joining a game or trying to create a game, we want to restrict it to just whoever's the authenticated owner, basically.
Right. And yeah, so this create game, you'll see here, we'll probably create a separate one called join game, I think, or we'll decide, we'll figure it out. But yeah, it does exactly what we want it to. We want to create a new instance of our Phaser game.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, that was a pretty good recap. And honestly, we haven't touched this project at all since we last did the stream. So I honestly couldn't tell you if this ran. I think it runs right now, but we can certainly test it in a moment, Adrienne, right?
Yeah, I don't remember if it runs either, but
Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to
so
say, or should I start serving it?
no, let's serve it. Let's see what we have. Let's see if this goes through.
Let me switch it over to my screen now.
Yep.
We're actually using really cool functionality of Visual Studio Code with the code collaboration.
Yes, it's the Visual Studio Live Share extension, and it's been really, really great. It's awesome when you're collaborating just like this, and it also makes it really easy to see who's creating what. So it's kind of like Google Docs for code. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So if you look at my screen, I don't know if you can see it, Adrienne, as well. But it looks like what we have right now actually works. And of course, it's not saving anything to MongoDB yet. But if I look at my console here, let me refresh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I have. I don't think I actually have authentication happening yet, right? Because if I look at the code, do we actually call this create or join, or just create?
I think we create or join. We do call it. We do call it in our script tag on the HTML page. On line
Interesting. I'm surprised that it didn't print anything out to the console. Oh, it did. All right, I just overlooked it. Let me zoom in.
Okay.
I always complain about everyone not being zoomed in, and I didn't zoom in myself. So it looks like this is our auth token right here. So this is the ID that's going to represent if we're an owner or not. So I guess let's see what we can do to make this more complete, right?
Yeah, let's finish it out. Let's finish him.
Some Mortal Kombat in there. So all right, so we have authenticate happening. Right now we're hard coding the ID of the game itself, which is fine. We're not actually doing any kind of queries or inserts against MongoDB. So I think maybe we should do that inside of our create game function, because that's what's actually called on line 57.
I dig it.
You dig it? All right. So then let's see what we can come up with. So let's go ahead and make this asynchronous, because we're going to be interacting with the database, and I don't really care to use JavaScript promises in their natural form. So we're going to use async and await. Are you all right with that?
I'm all right with that.
All right. So then let's add a try and a catch. I have to apologize about some of my my typing mistakes. I recently got a new keyboard at this computer, and I am still learning the layout of it. So because it's a different format than my previous.
When you say layout, is it not QWERTY layout?
No, it is. So I don't like it's one of those compact keyboards.
Oh,
Whereas
okay.
I had a larger one before, so the key placement is a little strange.
Okay.
So stuff
It's
that I
like,
used to tap no longer exists, or it exists. A key is kind of in that same spot.
I was like, what do you mean you have to reload the layout? That makes sense.
I'll get there. It's too new for me still. So we're gonna catch the errors. What we can do now is let's insert. This is a create. We know that we're gonna be inserting. So let's go and say maybe let
Game. Yeah.
Could be game. We may or may not have a conflict with the variable on line 66. If so, maybe
Change it.
yeah, I think the
Let's try
scoping
it.
is different enough that it
Yes.
won't conflict. But I mean,
That's why we're streaming, right? We'll find out.
oh yeah, we're probably gonna have tons of errors at some point in time. That's just the nature of the game, right?
Yep.
So we have collection right here on line 18. So we should be able to use it, I think.
Yes.
We may have a scoping issue, but we can worry about that when it comes. Let's check it out. So this dot collection, and for the collection we can say dot insert one.
Okay.
And what do we want to insert, Adrienne?
So we want to insert, what do we need for our game? We need at least the ID, right? Our underscore ID field.
Yeah, we're doing that
should
because we don't want to use the hash, right?
Right. So right, that's right. So because we're using the ID to be our identifier for our games. So we need to send that. We also need to send the owner ID. Yep.
Which is our auth, right?
Yep. And we do this so that we know who is the owner and who is not. I think we use this later on to determine whether or not you can draw.
Yeah.
And then at this time, since we're creating a game, we should just be sending an empty strokes array, right?
Yeah,
because
I
we
like that.
don't have anything at the moment. We're initializing a new game.
Yeah, and I don't remember if we printed it out in the last stream, but when we print out path, so we can actually convert it to JSON. And basically what we plan to do is we just plan to store the JSON of that path as a stroke object in this array within our document. And that should work out good. Let's go ahead and move that into our catch statement here. So basically we do an insert. After we get some kind of result back, we start our game. And
so we have to set up the start. I think there's like a start scene, right? Or a scene start.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I think this will still work though for now.
Okay.
So yeah, let's use a very unique ID, because I think because when we streamed last time, I think you were setting up a fresh realm project. So mine actually has some data in it still. So I could easily purge it, I guess.
Sweet.
So this is
do it. Do you need to change the realm ID first to be yours?
Yeah, we will need to change that as well. So let me click on collections, see if I'm still logged in here.
As you can see, we like super unique names like Adrienne 1234 and Cluster 0.
I think my internet's working hard because I'm hosting this stream, and my internet is not the fanciest internet in the world.
No problem. So Supa Shiva 14, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, says always like sandbox projects with vanilla JS. We do too. When we first started creating this game, we both knew that we wanted to get into game development somehow. But at first, at least I was kind of intimidated. Like all you hear is Unreal Engine or Unity. And I'm like, that seems like a whole nother thing to learn. I mean, I know C#, but it still seems super intimidating. So when Nick and I started talking about how can we like get into more game development, we obviously tried to look for things that were either more familiar to us or were not as overwhelming. So we were pretty happy to have found Phaser because it is a JS framework. So it's a little bit easier for us to just get started with and get ramped up with versus, possibly being discouraged because there's like another thing you have to learn. So did you feel the same way with that, Nick?
Kind of, yeah.
Phaser.
So
sweet. So there is your data.
Yeah, let me do a filter here. I didn't purge it.
Oh, that's fine.
What did I call it? Adrienne 1, 2, 3?
1, 2, 3, 4.
4. All right. 0. So it doesn't look like it inserted. So let's work our way through. Let's
I may have missed it. Did you actually create the game or?
Yeah, oh, no, I put it here. So if I had to guess, it's because of a scoping issue here. Because this right here, I think it represents inside of the scene itself, whereas we have this dot collection inside of the constructor, which is not part of the scene. So I think we need to play around with some stuff. So one way that we could do this is I think we can get away with moving this into our init.
Okay.
That should work out. Yeah, why not?
Try it.
Yeah, JavaScript scoping always messes with me. Let's try that. That makes it even worse. So let's go ahead and see. Can I read property of auth on line 50?
No, it's on client.
Oh no, it can't access it inside the
Yeah.
non. Oh, you know what? We shouldn't have had this issue actually. So let me revert that, and I'll explain why. All right, so I moved it back into the constructor. We shouldn't have had this issue because you know what? Create game, create during game. This is not part of our scene, so the scope should be correct.
Oh. Okay.
So this leads me to believe. Well, let's do the good old-fashioned console.log.
Hmm.
Oh, actually, I don't even need to do that. I know why it didn't work, and it's because I didn't listen to you. I didn't change the game ID. It's still yours.
Ah, there you go.
So that would be a result of me not listening.
Yes.
Let's
So
go to fix that.
we're going to go back to our index HTML. Yep. And we're going to change our realm app ID. So right now, this is still my realm app ID when we configured the realm project from scratch on our first stream. So we're going to now change it to Nix.
And is everything large enough as far as being zoomed in for the... Have we received any complaints on my level of zoom at all?
No, I
No?
don't see anything, which should be good.
Sweet. All right, I refresh. No errors is always a good sign, right? So let's go back into Atlas.
Mm-hmm.
Probably should have opened up a different tab for that, but it's all right.
No worries.
Figure out which project we're in here. Oops.
The old maid says, must master the scope.
Yeah.
Yes. And of course, Cookie Ado says, when in doubt, console.log.
Yeah,
Always.
that's people will make fun of that for that, but I'm all right with it. Right? All right, there we go. That looks good. So we have our owner ID, we have the game ID, we have an empty strokes array. Good so far. Agreed?
Yep, so it does exactly what we want. We created a new game, which means we inserted a document into our game collection, and it has our game ID, owner ID, and right now an empty strokes array because we haven't drawn yet.
Yeah. All right, so this is where the scoping becomes an issue. And believe me, this is like... This got me the biggest when it came to Phaser. And Phaser's not a difficult framework to work with, but scoping just in general is a strange beast. So because we are working with data, we need to be able to access whatever we're doing inside of our Phaser scene. So inside of our lifecycle events. The easiest way to do that is to actually pass it into our scene. So take the data from this external facing function and pass it into our scene when we start it. So if we scrolled up our scene, we got to give it a scene name so that way we can reference it. So maybe we call this one, I think it's just name. If not, we can change it. Do you know if it's just name, Adrienne?
I don't think so.
Or key, it's one of those.
Key? I think key is default.
Yeah. Let's just go ahead and call this one default. We'll call this key.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work, we'll figure out something else. So we're giving it a name. So that way we can actually say, you know what, let's start this particular scene name and let's pass this scene some information.
Okay. So then that means, so I get it. So this is going to be this.game.scene.start or start.scene. Yes.
I believe it's this one.
Okay.
And
then that's where we use the name, right? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And this is where we can pass in some data into our scene.
Okay. So what would this be? Would this be like some of the config stuff we have up top?
Yeah, so because we know that we're gonna have to obtain data and even update data inside of this document that we just created, it's probably a good idea to pass in the ID of the game here. And rather than just calling it something universal like ID, maybe we call it something like game ID.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
And this could be, in this circumstance, ID.
Okay.
We probably want to pass around the collection because I'm not going to have access to this .collection. So let's go ahead and say collection. And some of this might be overkill, and we could always strip it out later. Just going off the top of my head.
Yeah. I know what we need. Where am I?
There you go.
And this is going to be auth ID. Also need, I would think we would need the owner ID, right?
Yeah, and the reason why we need both is because, well, we want to know the owner, because if we've joined a game, which in this case we're never doing because we're in the create game function, we still want to know who the owner is, and we also know who we want to know who we are.
Still be.
Yeah.
Because we're creating the game. Finally, what else? Oh, we need the actual strokes.
Yeah, I don't think we need that one. I think we leave that out for now.
All right. So that's that then.
Yeah. So what we would need to do then is, well, we would need to be able to accept this data. So we need to be able to accept this object.
Okay.
So if we scrolled up into the init scene, because we're just now starting the scene, we can actually pass that object in, and we can access it. So for example, I could do something like this dot collection equals data dot collection, because that's what we called it inside of that object.
Gotcha.
And now whenever we're inside a init or create or update, we can now use this dot collection. And likewise, if we were outside, we would be using this. So they're the same thing. At least I hope they're the same thing.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
And basically, oh, go on.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask you, and I think you're about to start typing, but we have to add the rest of the data in here in init scene, right?
Yeah, we do. And we could easily create an object to represent all of it. But I think it's just a little more cleaner if we do it one by one.
Explicitly, yeah.
I think it's a preference thing more than anything. So you want to help me type some of this out?
Sure.
I'll start from the bottom up. So I'll say this dot owner ID.
All right. Where?
I think that's all we added, right? Oh, the game ID. And we also had the auth ID.
Okay.
And it may seem like we're doing a lot for this game, but honestly, by the end of it, we're going to be at it, but like 100 lines of code. It's not much to get MongoDB into this game, and it substantially changes the overall experience. Is that everything?
I think that's it. We'll definitely know once we try running it if we're missing anything.
Yeah. So then maybe before we actually worry about joining a game, maybe now that we have our collection, we have our owner information, maybe we actually try to update that strokes array inside of our document. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, let's do it. So let's see. Update the strokes array. So we want to do that in the update scene, I'm assuming.
Correct. We would want to do it after line 37 or somewhere in that chunk.
Okay.
So we're no longer drawing. Now we want to save our path, right?
Yes. Sorry. So the live share, usually it scrolls with you. So I'm just kind of looking at the stream to see where you are and then scrolling myself to where you are. But I'm here.
Did you get disconnected?
I'm not disconnected. I still see your cursor, but yeah, remember before, even if I scrolled, it would scroll with you so you know where you are. Anyway, we're on the same page now in the same section.
Yeah.
So yes. So when we are not drawing, right, we want to, like, this is if we are finished drawing, then we want to update our strokes array.
Yeah, because we've lifted our cursor or our pointer. The active pointer actually represents, like you said earlier, the mouse and the touch events. One thing that I noticed that we didn't do here, and I think it would have a negative effect, is not only do we want to check to see if the cursor is not down, but we also want to make sure that we were currently drawing. Because if we were to run our code, this chunk is always being called as long as we're not pressing our cursor down. And we don't want to do continuous upserts or updates. It's unnecessary.
Right. We want to be sure that we're finished drawing, and yeah, it's just overkill to continuously do this.
I mean, you could. I guess you can test out the strength of your browser and your database, but not necessary.
So off the band says hello to you.
Howdy, off the band. All right, so we have that check. Let's go ahead and do our MongoDB update.
All
So we
right.
we have our collection, this dot
Right.
collection. We passed it in already.
Mm-hmm.
What we can do now is similar. It shares the same APIs as the Node.js SDK,
Okay.
but we can say update one. So we're going to update one single document,
Mm-hmm.
and this update command takes two different objects. The first one being the match criteria. So we want to match on, of course, the ID, right?
Yep.
And the ID, we passed it in, right? It's this dot game ID. That in theory should work, but I think we want to do one better to maybe try to prevent errors.
Okay.
Is because if I'm a guest, and we're thinking ahead right now, if I'm a guest and I'm trying to draw and this update statement happens, well, it's going to find that game ID. I have that information, but I don't want to try to insert or update if I'm not the owner, and I don't want to have it throw a bunch of errors at me. So maybe I also do a match for the owner ID where I'm the owner of it. So something like owner ID, maybe this dot auth ID, because that's me and I'm not necessarily the owner.
Okay.
Did that make sense?
Yes, it does. And this also relates back to the rules that we've set up in Realm. So even if for whatever reason this is the front end, right? This is the client side. This
Yeah.
can possibly still be tampered with, but it still will fail at the database level because
Yep.
we have set up those rules. So it will do the same thing. It will check and make sure that the owner that is trying to update this document right now is that actual owner and not a different ID or a
Ex-
spectator's ID.
exactly. And this match will never succeed because well, I mean, it'll only ever succeed if we're the owner, because remember we saved it along. It'll never match otherwise.
Right.
So that's our match. Now we need to figure out what happens if there was a match.
Yep. What are we actually updating
Yeah.
to
So
our document?
yeah, this is where we start getting into the operators. So we have stroke information. We don't
Mhm.
need to mess with the ID. We don't need to mess with the owner information. We just want to push our new strokes into that stroke array. So
Okay.
our new brush strokes. So there is actually a push operator.
I was gonna say I feel like we have an operator for that.
I
It's too easy.
I think, I'm not sure. I think there's another operator that does something similar to push,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
but not quite the same. Uh,
Okay.
I think there's one that has to deal with duplicates, and
Okay.
I think push doesn't care. I think it just pushes regardless. So we'll do a push, and we're going to push into the strokes array of that particular document. And here, because we say we have path, we can say this dot path dot to JSON, and that will convert the path to JSON, and it'll push it in.
Sweet. Before we move on, Off the Ban has a question.
Yeah.
Says, when should we use underscore ID versus ID? What's the catch and what's the difference? So that's a great question. Underscore ID is the automatic field, the automatic identifier that's added to every single MongoDB document. In this particular case, for our game, we're actually setting it to the game ID in our game. So instead of using the automatic, it's almost like a hash. It's a hash, right? The object ID.
Yeah, I'd call it a hash.
Okay.
There's some logic to it, like it has like
Yeah.
time information and stuff.
Right. So the automatically generated underscore ID in the documents, that will happen if we just decided to use it as is. But because we are using the underscore ID field as our identifier, we want to use the actual game ID that we generate as our underscore ID. So this is how we determine which games are being played, and as well as if we're joining or creating a new game, that's how we tell them apart. So we're kind of overriding the underscore ID field to be the game ID in our game. Anything I missed, Nick?
No, that makes sense. And while you were talking right there, sorry, this is a complete drop in subject. I
Mm.
noticed that my Open Broadcast Studio is having a drop in network latency. Are we still good on the stream?
I think so. I don't
We're still
see
good?
any complaints.
All right, just checking. Sorry to change the subject, but yeah, I think you did a good explanation.
Sweet. And no problem off the ban.
Looks good. All right, stream looks good. Thanks everyone.
Thank you. So yeah, so I think that's all we need for our update, right, Nick?
Yeah, and then after that update happens, what we are doing is we're resetting the drawing, and then we'll just create a new stroke after that. So it's going to be a new path. This is a promise, and I don't know if we want to worry about the result if it fails or not. But we could do an await, or we could just do it then. In this case, I don't. What do you prefer? Do you want me to do async await stuff again, or do you want me to
Let's just do the then. Let's
just do
get
the
it up.
then?
We get it running, and then we optimize later. That's my philosophy.
Yeah. So then we can say result, and I don't know. Maybe we want to print it out.
That's good enough for now, I think.
Result. Otherwise, error. And I know I'm doing this all on one line. I think it's still on the screen. I don't think it's cutting off. Console.error maybe. I don't know. We can get more extravagant later if we want. Should we test this?
We should.
All right. So I'm going to go back into my browser.
Mm-hmm.
My authorization session should still be the same because I haven't closed my tab or my browser. So I'm going to refresh. Hopefully it didn't change. I didn't remember what it said previously. But we're getting an error now.
Ooh, what does it say?
And I know why we're getting this error. Do you know?
Let me see. Oh, duplicate key.
Yeah, so we're I've only ever set up the create. I've never set up the join or the create and join in. Even though that I'm the owner, I still need to join my own session. I can't just try to recreate on the same key every time.
Correct. So now we need to add that logic, right? Because it does exist and we need to do something about it.
Yeah, but I'm actually just going to cheat, and I'm just going to say that now this is Adrienne 1 2 3 4 5.
Okay.
Just for the sake of the test. We'll get there. So this should pass. I am going to just do some drawing. It didn't do anything, but let's before I rule anything out here, let's go ahead and see. No. Interesting.
I call that piece of art descent into shortcuts.
All right. I also noticed that in the chat, Daniel Giovanni is talking about the add to set operator. All right. Good call on that. All right. So what do we think the issue is here?
What are you specifically talking about? Because we have gotten it now because we fudged the ID. But what in particular are you?
So it didn't push up our update.
Oh.
So yeah.
Update scene.
I mean, when in doubt, start printing out statements, right? Rather than just changing the document ID 100 times for this example, maybe we get the join going and then we start experimenting with our issues.
That sounds good to me.
Are you filtering on the right ID in Compass? Yeah, I was. I think. Let's double check just for the sake of sanity. 1 2 3 4 5. And in Atlas we are not. All right, that could be it. That could be a good call.
Thank you, Klein Hansen.
I still don't think it works successfully because it shouldn't have this underscore. I don't think I did anything with transactions, and we don't have anything in our curves, so something is still wrong.
Okay.
But the ID was the ID was there. The problem. A good call. All right, so let's get that join out of the way, right?
Yeah.
So let's create another one. Do ID, auth ID again. And it should actually be pretty similar, right, Adrienne?
Yes. So in this particular case, let's see, what are we doing? Let me scroll to it.
Let's do a trial because we're doing async and we do want to try to catch everything that we can.
Mm-hmm. So, yep.
So
we want to check, right? We want to see if there's an actual game with the game ID that if it exists already. So we can probably use the find one command for that.
yeah, absolutely. So let's check it out. I'll just call it result for now. Let's say await, say this dot collection, and we'll say find one. And should I leave it on one line or should I break it up into multiple lines here?
You can break it up. You already split it.
Yeah.
I would leave it in one line, but that's just preference.
No, let's leave it. The undo key is very easy. So the ID, I'm just peeking back at the chat every once in a while. I see a lot of motion going on over there. So the ID.
Oh, understand saying hello from Portugal.
Hello. All right. So we do a find one, and if there's a document, great. If there's not a document, then result is going to be null,
Right.
which means that we have nothing to join. So let's do that check. So we can say if not result or result equals null. In that case, what we can do is
now we want to
start the scene.
Start the scene because we know that a game has been found. So
correct. And I'm just going to copy and paste from the create because the code will actually be quite similar, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we start the game, we start our scene, we pass the ID, the collection. The difference here is in our owner and auth. So actually our auth ID, it should be the same.
Yep.
And
but this needs to be now the results owner ID.
Yeah. And we did underscore, right?
I think so. This tripped me up last time, so we'll see. We might run into the same issues, but there were some like naming issues with owner ID that I don't remember. We'll figure it out when we get there.
Yeah, the code's not consistent at all, right?
We also need the strokes now, right? Because if we did find a game, then we need.
Yeah, you're right.
We need to draw, or at least if there was anything saved at that point, we need to draw those onto the canvas when we join the game.
Yeah, and you're right. So that means we have to go back to the create game and add it as well as an empty array. Okay. So you're right the first time.
I'll add it up here then.
Perfect. Are you suffering from typos like I am?
Jokes. That reminds me of Luke Cage. Do you ever watch that show?
Yeah, that was a fantastic show. That was probably my favorite.
I'm so upset that they canceled it. That was my favorite one of all the Marvel shows.
The Netflix ones, right?
Yeah, the Netflix one. The Jessica Jones. No one wants to talk about Iron Fist. Well, I didn't like Iron Fist. And then Daredevil was probably my other favorite one too.
I really liked the Defenders when they did the crossover.
That was awesome. Yeah.
They did a good job. I'll miss it. Maybe they'll bring it to Disney Plus and continue it.
They should. Oh, now that's going to be stuck in my head. Just Stokes. Stokes.
Yeah. We also want to probably return the result.
Yeah.
So that way, I just lost my train of thought. So that way, when we do our joining and create and join, we have something to work with, right?
Yes. So we just have to return the result here. Yep.
Because then we can check inside the creator join. If it was null, then create.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, probably an error, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
and actually, Daniel Giovanni actually has a right point. 80 should be if it's not null, right? If we do have something.
Yeah. This is.
Oh, that's the same, but it should.
Let's let me make it clear. I'll just spell it out here.
Sure.
Should be the same thing. Because if result is null, if it's null, then we know that there is no document. If it's not null, there is a document. We don't know what it is, but it's there.
I think this is a little more explicit, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we have to, I think we have to change up our create or join, right?
Yes, we do. So let's go ahead and say something like, we're just going to work with result again. Result equals await. And what do we have here? We have,
let's see, we have let result equal. So we want to join game, right?
yeah.
We want to try to join one first, and then if we don't find one, then we create the game.
Yeah, did it automatically added this for me when I saved? I didn't, or did you do that?
I did not. I think it automatically added.
Oh, fancy. So we pass in the ID and we pass in the auth dot ID, because right now we're just working with that. So we're checking for our result, and then what we can do is we can say if result is null, so equals null, not is not equal.
Then we want to create, not just create every single time.
Yeah. And we don't actually have an ID here, so we're still gonna hard code them for now. You all right with that?
That's fine. We can change it later once we actually add a place to add the ID.
Yeah, no big deal. Let's also add a try and catch here. I know that we're doing a lot of stumbling here, but it's worth it in the end. It's pretty cool.
I think so. I think it's also nice to show the process, like,
Yeah.
this is realistic. We're gonna go through, see what's wrong in some parts, and we'll learn from all of the little mistakes that we have.
Yeah. So right now what we have, and I could probably comment this out as well, we're trying to join a game. If the result is null, we create it, and we probably want this result right there.
Yep.
And then we finally return it. And we could have easily combined this into one function, but I think it made sense to break it up, even though that they're very similar.
Yeah, I agree.
So we have create or join. So I think in theory, if I refreshed my screen, it wouldn't complain to me that there's a duplicate key. What do you think? You think it'll actually not error out that there's a duplicate key for me trying to create too many times?
It shouldn't. I don't think it will. Let's find out.
What's with these errors here? Whatever's going on, it's spazzing out my web browser.
Oh, oops.
Something was spazzing out. I didn't get an error though. So this is good. A little concerning on why I had like 6,000 errors print out in my terminal and freeze it up. But not too bad. And line 47. Let's see what's going on line 47 here. We've got like a stray printout, right, going on. So is drawing is true. And yet it printed it out. What do we have it set to up top? We have it set to false.
Right. So
printing it out just to see why it's even making it into this area at all right now.
All right.
And I got tons of printouts right now. It's constantly printing out. So our logic, our this dot drawing is not correct somewhere. You see how it's increasing forever?
Yes, yes.
I honestly don't know how to stop it, but without refreshing the page. Is there an actual way to stop something inside of Chrome? Like straight JavaScript? No, you can clear it. But I never checked to see if you can actually stop.
Kill the page.
I don't even have a kill page option. That's fine. We'll let it go and break my computer. So why is it constantly? Where did we slip up here?
Trying to see where else we may possibly be setting the is drawing and why it would be wrong. So
So is there? Do you think there's a scope issue? I mean, it's true right now. It shouldn't be true.
that's right. Maybe we have set it incorrectly to true initially. I don't think so.
Ah, I
You
got
find
it.
it?
Yeah, I know what's going on here.
Where?
We're doing a raw else right here on line 50. So we're technically not drawing, but it's immediately as soon as it starts setting it to that. So let's do an if else or an else if.
Yep. Good catch.
Sometimes I would have never gotten that. It's like needles in haystacks sometimes.
Yeah. Here we want to be explicit, right? Yep.
Yeah, so if it's down, then we check to see if we were drawing yet. I think that'll fix it for us.
Should at least eliminate all of
this is probably why it's trying to do 100,000
yeah,
MongoDB operations.
exactly.
See if I can clear this. It's still trying to recover. All right, hold on. Let me refresh one more time just for the heck of it.
Yep.
And actually, while got a clean slate, how do you feel about adding a 6 to your ID here?
Might as well, right? Slippery slope. We've already gone this far as well.
All right, let's give it a shot here. So I'm gonna go with the classic.
Yep.
And add a 6 here. Looks good so far. We have 1 stroke. That's good. All right, this is good. We got something. It works now. So that 1 stroke, as long as it is just a lot of different curves. So if I were to do another one,
we should. Yep. Thanks off the band. Thanks for coming and joining us for this little bit.
Yeah, don't forget to catch it on demand afterwards.
Yes.
All right, so I did another stroke. My art is quite terrible.
It's abstract, okay?
I just refreshed it. Sorry.
Maybe nobody understands that this is peering into your soul.
Maybe. All right, let's find it again. We should have 2 strokes in there. Yeah, we do. Not bad so far. So we've got games being created. We've got brush strokes being added. Now what I want to do probably is when I refresh, it's going to be blank. I probably want to load that, right?
Probably.
So let's see what we can do. So inside of our create, this is probably where it makes the most sense. We can actually do another find operation, I think, right?
Yes, I'm agreeing, but I think I'm not following. Continue.
Actually, no, I don't need to do a find operation because I'm looking down here on line 95. We're passing in the strokes.
Yes.
So we've already got the stroke information. We don't need to do another find. That would be unnecessary.
We just need to actually draw them out, right? Once we load our scene.
Yeah, we also need to get it inside the init scene. So this dot strokes equals data dot strokes. There we go.
Yes.
So now we have an array to work with. Let's loop through it.
Yep.
You all right with a for each?
Yep.
I know that there's performance differences between for each and the other options. I can never keep track of which one's more performant. I don't think it matters for this simplistic example, right?
Yeah. We're not going into benchmarking just quite yet. So this makes sense. So now that we have our strokes, we want to create a new path for Phaser to be able to draw it. So we're passing in each of those the path curves that we have received from our result.
Yep. And just like there was a to JSON, we also have a from JSON, and we have a stroke object, and should load it directly as is.
We just need to draw it, right?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Okay. Sweet.
I think
So
this should work.
yeah, so this should at least now save the brush that you have drawn even after you refresh.
Yeah, let's check it out. Slick. And I actually clicked the screen there. There's like a stray pixel right there, so it actually saved it. Because I wanted to get focus back on my browser. I like this tab,
Nice. Uh-huh.
so it caught it,
I see it.
which is
Awesome.
cool. All right, so
Sweet.
we have that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we probably want to do is probably get a way for you to join as well, right?
I can actually speed this up a little bit. So what we want to add now is, yeah, like you said, a way for me to either join this game and see what you are drawing to maybe try to guess it, and then add a little bit more metadata about our game, namely just how can we tell who is the host or who is the owner and who is the spectator, right? So should we add some of those elements into our HTML page?
Yeah. Did you want me to put it on your screen, or did you just want to type it into the shared terminal
I'll type it into the shared terminal.
or shared code? I mean.
Yeah, shared IDE, I guess.
And while you do that, I think I'm going to update real quick. See how line 20 where we're saying creator join. Maybe this is where I say the Adrienne 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 this time.
Gosh, all right.
And then I just use variables inside the code for those functions.
I'll allow it at this point. But okay, so
No
we
takesies backsies.
need two places, I think. We need a visitor. Well,
So the weirdest thing, I don't know if it's coming on the stream, but when you type, the audio gets real quiet.
Is it doing it again? It's because is my voice okay at least this time?
It's clear, yeah, it's very clear. But
Okay.
I don't know why it does that. It's so weird.
It's probably because the mic is right above my keyboard and I have a lovely mechanical keyboard, so you'll hear all the clicky clacks. So I'm gonna mute myself while I type, I guess, or I'm just gonna lift my mic and not talk for a little bit.
It's fine if you talk. It just gets a little lower.
That's fine. I just won't talk then when I'm typing.
Yeah.
I need to focus.
And I don't know if people on the stream are hearing it too. They definitely type in the chat and see if some weird effects are happening.
Yes, help us out. The same thing that was happening last time.
People are saying it sounds fine. And we're getting that people like the sound of a mechanical keyboard.
I do too. There's like I saw something where there's like an ultimate typing championship that's happening and Das Keyboard is sponsoring it. I'm like, do I need another Das Keyboard? Maybe. But then I looked at the words per minute of the competitors. I'm like, I need to practice before I join. Do you know what your words per minute is?
Probably. I mean, are we counting words per minute that are spelled correctly, or free from
Yes,
typos?
there's like a different stat that says how fast you are and then how accurate you are. And obviously, those who are fast and at least 99% accurate, I think, move on.
I'm probably falling in the 10 words category right there. I have a lot of typos.
So let's see, what do we have so far? Do we have the creator drawing?
So
But
this
moment. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say right now you have a container div, it looks like, for visitor, and you have an input which I assume we're gonna be able to type in the ID 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, right?
Yes. So I have to we may have to move the creator join into another async function. Let me finish this. So we're gonna have to do something.
Yeah.
Should I just write it out now? You want to switch it out now?
Yeah. What are we switching out?
Well, we're gonna do the join or create game
Yeah.
on here. And then this one is where we'll be using some of the elements on the screen to determine who is the owner and who is the spectator.
Yeah. Sure. Let's do it.
Cool.
I'm letting you drive right now.
Oh.
You got the wheel. So you want us to create a method down here then?
Yes, that's what I.
Like a local copy of it?
Yeah, we'll be doing a couple of different things. And if you want to start that, that would be awesome, just so we can save a little time. So we want. Okay. No.
While Adrienne's adding stuff, if you're viewing this stream live, go ahead and hit that follow button so that way you get notifications every time we go live. We go live. Lately, it's been I think twice a week on the MongoDB channel. So if you want some great content, you want to learn how to use MongoDB in awesome ways, game development, DevOps, whatever it may be, we want to have you. And then, like I mentioned previously, after these streams are done, it may not be the same day, but eventually they end up on YouTube. Maybe if Otto or Karen are on right now, they can add the link to our YouTube channel. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Should be just MongoDB, right?
Could be.
If we got that.
Awesome. It's MongoDB official. That's what Otto typed in there. And you can also see the part 1 that's already on YouTube as well. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, this line's getting a little long for our, it's going to start falling off the screen soon. Maybe instead, do you want to create some style tags inside of the head?
Sure. Let's copy that out then. Oops.
What do you want to call it? Is host? Oh, you already got it. The ID. All right, I didn't see it. My bad. You used an ID, so it has to have a hashtag. It's all good. I got you.
Oh, yeah. I was going over in a boy. I was going to make it a class.
We could change it. All good. I think both will work.
So what are we missing here? So did we change this one? Yep. Okay.
What are you looking at?
I'm just double checking that I didn't miss anything.
So
that should be it.
One thing I noticed that I don't think we did is I don't think we set the ID. So our actual game placeholder. I think Phaser created it for us. So if I looked at the game.js file, it doesn't look like we provided a parent. I don't know if this is going to affect our CSS at all. Do we need a container in the HTML and CSS that you added, like a container element, or do you think it'll render correctly?
I think it needs a container. So let's see. We need an actual place.
Yeah.
So this is what? This is, did we call it anything specific?
Yeah, we called it game on line 36, even though we never actually used it yet.
Should be it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We want to add any styling to it. We'll see what it looks like, and then we can change it.
Yeah, it should already be styled. We didn't add it to the game.js file. I'm actually gonna, I shifted it because it's still on my screen. Inside of that game.js file, all we need to do is we need to say parent and then config dot we call it ID. I already forgot. My memory is shot.
Which part are you asking? The actual ID, the game ID?
Yeah, it is on line 36.
Yeah.
So now it's actually going to use that. If you don't include one by default, Phaser creates one for you. Mm-hmm. But because we now have some fancy HTML in the mix, I think we need to define where we want it added, right?
Yes. Let me see where you went.
Should I refresh this and see if it works?
We can hope. Let's try it.
All right, we saved it. I'm gonna refresh it. Yes.
Is that like a yes-ish?
Maybe. I zoomed in because it was small. So on the screen here, I see a not in game on the bottom far right, and then I have a very basic form up top. And it's not showing our canvas because we now have it inside of a local function. So create a join was never called until I click the button.
So if you did create one, what happens?
I clicked it and it created a canvas and it created it below the form, which is probably all right. But we did full screen it, so it does look a little odd.
Okay.
What do you think here? Should we absolute position it?
Yes. The actual canvas, you mean, right?
The visitor. So the visitor class. I think it's relative positioned right now.
Yes. Give this a class. Oh, I mean, what needs to be?
Oh no, we already have it.
Do we?
No, yeah. It's on line 22. We just need to put style information in there.
Right, but we want to do it to the outer div, right? I mean, there's multiple ways we can do this.
Yeah. Do we want to call it something else then?
Visitor. I'm terrible with naming. I'm just gonna be like visitor container.
No.
Yeah. What were you thinking? You're gonna style the direct to visitor div or the div outside it? Because we want this information as well, right?
Let's style line 21.
Okay. Cool.
I think just giving it a absolute position and a background color would do it.
All right, let's do that. So we want.
Adrienne's CSS skills are much better than my own. FYI, this would naturally take me a very long time to do.
That's not it. No hopes here. What do we want to do? Let's just.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yeah. Should I refresh? All right. Yeah, added padding too.
All right. Now.
All right. Yeah, saved it. Refresh. Looks better. If I were to click it, now we're back at full screen. So I think it's good enough. We don't need to get too fancy with it. Are we actually passing in the value that I type? I don't think we are yet, right?
Not yet. We needed to update our copy of our game join and create game function. I believe that's where we do it.
Yeah. So we have game ID for the input, right? So instead of this cool value, which I'm actually going to put it in there so that way it's stuck in there forever. Let's go ahead and say, what's the command? Document dot get
element by ID. Yep.
ID, yeah. Game ID. I think that'll work, right?
That should be, yeah. Yeah, for now.
And yeah, all right. Let's try it, right?
Yep.
Refresh. Perfect. Error is not defined. Game.js line 88.
What?
Cool. Let's see what that is. How does that make any sense? We must have an error somewhere else. And it's confused. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where that would be.
107, 82, 88. Yo, I doesn't like any of those. It was working a second ago.
Of course it was.
Always.
What do we have in our HTML?
If someone sees something spotty in the chat, let us know.
Oh, because we need the value.
Ah, good one. Good one. Good catch.
That should be.
Let's check it out. Yeah, that was it. Good job, Adrienne.
Each.
All right, so if I draw something, and maybe if I open up another tab, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I join that same game. All right, so it looks like us selecting games is working out. So if I went back to 6, and I don't think it'll clear it. So let me refresh it. Actually, go back to 6. Yeah, so it has my old game too.
Sweet. Can you do side by side of the two tabs, so we can see it updating?
Maybe. Well,
oh right, we don't have that yet.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we don't have that yet.
I forgot.
I'm a new Windows user. How do I keep this from trying to do its own thing here? I'm trying to make this just stay in a window and not full screen on me.
Well, you can split it up. You can do Windows and then
I got it.
right arrow.
I got it.
Oh.
It was a silly user error, I think.
Oh. Oh, I thought you wanted to like split them out. That's what I do all the time. I was gonna do half and half. So like.
Oh, that would have been too much for me. I don't think I would have been able to accomplish that.
Just the Windows key and the right keyboard.
Windows
right
key and right keyboard.
Right arrow.
All right. All right, got it.
That work?
Yeah.
I'm like waiting on the stream to see if it actually worked.
No, it worked.
Oh, yeah, I see it. And then you can choose whatever else you want. There you go.
All right. We're gonna bring this episode home, right? We're
gonna
do the final step.
Can we do it in 12 minutes?
You got we're running out of time?
Yeah. Let's see how much
I think we could do 12 minutes. What do you think?
All right. Let's do it. So let's go back to our game and let's actually add the change stream so we can do what I was trying to ask you to do, which was to have the two tabs up so that when you draw as the owner, the other tab would simulate a spectator and we can actually see the brush strokes also update on there.
Sure.
Do that?
Yeah, so let's probably do that in the create scene, right?
Yes.
So in the create scene, we're still initializing everything. This is where we can set up the change stream. So maybe we do something like constant stream equals.
And then
And actually we can't do await yet because we're not yet asynchronous.
Now we can.
Remind me to do a try catch and everything in there too. Just to make it appropriate or proper, right?
Yes.
So stream await. We have this dot collection. And
so we want to find the particular game that we want to watch, right? Whenever we join this particular game, we want to keep track of what's happening to this document, because as new brushstrokes are added, we want the spectator who is watching to have their screen update with the new brushstrokes that are saved.
Yeah.
So we need to watch the game ID, right? We need
Yeah,
to
because
map.
we're never going to be watching 10 games at once, right?
Right. So that's our yep.
So this is a little different, the change streams versus a regular find. So instead of just saying ID, which we've been using before, we actually have to say full document. So we'll look at that full document in the change, and we need to say underscore ID.
Okay.
And then we can say this dot game ID, which we referenced on 26.
Correct. Cool. So now we have something we're watching, right?
Yes.
We have something that's looking at our document, but now we want to do something if we do see a change, right?
Correct. We need to, yeah, basically, you said it right. I don't have a better explanation for that. So we need to look at those change events.
So I have a question. Is
yes.
on next is the next time an actual change event happens, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's just start by printing this out so we can see what we're working with. So console.log.
Okay.
And I'm going to go back into my browser. And I'm going to refresh. Join. And you'll see, because even though that I'm the owner, I'm still watching my own documents. This is what we received. So we received the full document. We received, in this case, we're interested in the strokes. So this should be just like a single stroke, I believe. So yeah. And basically, we just want to render that every time one comes in, right?
Yep. We're basically saying, hey, we have some new paths to draw, so let's tell Phaser to draw that out. It's almost like triggering it, right? That there's new changes saved. We just need to do something with it.
Yeah. So that we have the full document. We also have the actual fields that were updated. So I think we're more I take back what I just said. The full document has all of our strokes, which is a few right now. What we are interested in the update fields. So that way we only look at the fields that have come in that have changed.
Right, because we don't care if we already have the previous brushstrokes, right?
And it does come in a little formatted funny right here. Strokes.5 rather than like an array element or something like that. We'll have to do some tweaking. But nothing that we can't handle. So inside of here, what we can do is we can say let updated fields. So that way we don't have to work with some big long path. But we can say event.update description.
And just the update fields.
Yeah, update fields. All right, so we have the update fields. Now we want to see if the strokes was one of those updated fields. It should be in this example the only thing that comes in, but you never know. So we're going to say if update fields dot as own property. See if it exists in this particular object. We're going to say strokes.
That's the one we care about, right? That's where our points are for where we're going to draw.
Yeah, and if we look back, so update fields, strokes. So this is where it gets a little funny. Because now we're looking for strokes, and this is strokes 0.5. So we basically kind of need to arrayify this, right?
Yeah.
And an object. See what we can do here. This always trips me up because of the format that it comes in. Thanks for the follows. Oh, that was Karen. Sorry. So before we even do that, let's just lost my train of thought. Sorry, I'm having one of those days today.
No problem. So we were looking. Yeah. So we were looking for. We got down to the updated fields, right? Because that's the only one that we care about. And we're now looking to see the specific strokes property. When we wanted to, I think you wanted to try to manipulate it into an array if it's not already, or the name of it, because we want to do something similar to where we drew it out, right? We want to ideally loop through the updated strokes and then draw them.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't think we should worry about turning it into an array yet, because in JavaScript, we can still loop through objects. That's where I'm going. So we just need to loop through all of the objects inside of the updated fields.
Okay.
So let's check it out. I could say something like for. I can let maybe stroke with number or something like that in, and I can say updated fields. So we're assuming in this example that all of the updates are strokes.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, things are going to get a little wacky.
Yes.
But assuming that that's the way that it is, let's say let. This is where we create a new path. But something that you might want to take note of is we can't necessarily use this.path because we're working with that when we draw. And if we're trying to draw to a path and we're trying to mess with the change stream in a path, we're going to end up with some connected lines. So it just makes life easier if we set the change stream path as like a different variable name. So change stream path equals new path.curves.path. And we're just reproducing.
Yeah, this should be similar.
I'll just
at least now it's explicit that these are part of the change stream events and not the initial create scene event.
So this is just the number, or like the key of the item. Yep. And it should draw. We may not have to worry about this one on 46. So what do you think?
So,
test it out?
Oh, I need to change these two, right?
You are right. Good catch.
Yep.
All right. Does that look good now?
I think so. I feel like we still needed to do something here, but let's try it out.
Could work. You never know.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. So I'm going to refresh it. I am going to just join our typical game again. I'm also going to refresh this one. I'm going to pop it out. You said Windows key, right key, right?
Yes, you should have it like side by side so we can see.
And this is Windows key, left key?
Yeah, so pull it out into its own tab, yep, or window, and then just do Windows key right arrow. And then it should give you the option, and then Windows key left arrow for the other.
Yeah, I got it.
Woo.
So we're getting an error though now. So path is not defined on game line 48. Let's see if we can correct that real quick.
48. Oh, is this supposed to be phaser?
Yeah, you're right. Sweet.
So
saved it.
I saved it. Yep.
Perfect. All right, so I'll join one. Join the other. Looks good. All right. Do we miss anything?
I don't think so. It's a moment of truth here.
I mean, it worked.
I see it. It's updating on the other side. Sweet. Keep drawing. Write your, I don't know.
Try to write my name with a mouse.
Add more to your work of art and let us look at it being updated on the right side. That's super cool. Woo.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we brought this particular series to a wrap in 2 parts, right?
Yes, and we got it just in time too. Now we probably can fix like the input there and just add a little bit more styling, but
yeah, make it a little more pretty.
Yeah, we got the core working, which is really sweet. So you're drawing on the left, and then it updates on the right.
Yeah, we didn't touch this not in a game like thing or anything like that, which is fine. Those are minor details that don't really affect what we wanted to accomplish. Yeah, and what is our line count? All right, so it's not the 100 lines that I said.
But still, I mean, when you first see this game, at least if you're new to game development, I thought this was way more complicated. I thought it required way more lines of code. And I'm sure, remember, we were just trying to get it working. So if we really optimize this and refactor this a little bit, I'm sure we could get it down, even though the lines of code is not really like the end all measure. But I get what you're saying, that we can do this in a fairly small amount of code.
Yeah. So I mean, if you came in late, or maybe something didn't click with you on this one and you want to go through it again, and maybe you're going to GDC next week,
Yes.
we do this example, but we do it the way we structured it is a little different, so it may be a little easier to understand. Or catch the video on demand, right?
Yes, there's 2 parts. So we set this up in the first video, and then you can watch us finish it. If you missed any part of this one, you can watch the VOD on Twitch, or go to our official YouTube channel, which will have both parts. I think that's it. Do you want to wrap up, Nick? Let's just remind everyone that if you want to pull up the Auth0 again.
All right, Auth0.
Yes, so we are sponsoring, or are one of the sponsors for this hackathon for Auth0. So if you are interested, we know that we love hackathons and there's so many going on, but feel free to check it out. There's going to be a lot of really awesome swag and a lot of really awesome engineers to help you out in this hackathon. So feel free to check it out. And then again, the talk that we have at GDC is happening on August 5th. I believe at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So if you are a part of that or watch for our talk later, we kind of go through the same thing that we've been streaming, but just condensed into like a 45-minute talk. So I hope to see you there. Anything else, Nick?
I don't think so. Make sure you follow us. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Raboy. I don't know if you want to plug yourself, Adrienne.
Yes, I'm also just my name, Adrienne Tacke. So we'll share it in the chat, and you can always find us on Twitter, everywhere, all the socials.
Yeah, let me just put that now. All right. Yeah, so I think we'll bring it to a close. Thanks for everyone for coming out. Much appreciated. I hope you enjoyed it.
Till next time, which is going to be this Friday, I think, for National Intern Day. Joe is going to be playing Drawful 2, I think, with some of our interns at MongoDB. So be sure to check us out this Friday, right back here on this Twitch channel.
Absolutely. All right. See you later, everyone.